Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is Mr. Dogbout333, and welcome back to Hearts of Iron 4, New Order Last Days Europe as State of Guangdong. Last video, we started working on our crusade against corruption. We're doing an offensive, we're working on choking out dissent. We got working on reducing our corruption. We actually are doing an okay job on that. And right now we're working on stuff like insolvency. Stuff like that. There we go. So we have the option between leniency towards the people or ensuring that corporations are heard. It doesn't really matter what we do, I think. I think we'll do leniency towards the people. Statistically speaking, the small and medium-sized enterprises in Guangdong are the most likely to face bankruptcy even when faced with difficult times, often without access to legal advice or adequate protections when creditors come calling. While they may not be the most efficient in terms of promoting economies of scale, for the largest corporations in Guangdong, we will ensure that the voices of smaller entrepreneurs are heard as we draft our new insolvency regulations. I mean, we'll be fine. Otherwise, we're going to lose some support from Hitachi and Fujitsu, but I'm not too worried about that. Or about addicting. Yeah, I don't know. That would increase support for expats. Approval by Japan. GDP growth increases. Not bad overall. How close are we to our corruption? Can't quite buy our own seat. I'm not too worried about that though. GDP 32.37. We're getting there. We'll be there. Failed coup in Laos. Dear Guangdongers, children aren't meant to be working with heavy machinery. Why do their little fingers fit so where? Little gears. Chet make liberaps. Libtars, I mean, turning point HoI. True. Morning air. Atmosphere thick with lugubrious moans of businessmen whose enterprises were falling down to the chute of garbage heat. Terminal velocity held up the suspense. It was quite a long way down. Lam found himself thinking of the fire at the end of a tunnel, how it would burn and feast on the crumbling foundation of the province. The sun was faint on the horizon, a light pale flickering its way through the clouds, tumbling. Lam wiped the sweat from his brow and proceeded to jog to his workplace, a rough-down workshop recessed in Kowloon's deepest crannies. After his firm's failure, Lam sold everything he owned and declared bankruptcy. Associates disappeared for every day. Since the news broke, Lam fastened a sweatband on his forehead, proceeded to look for work at Port Shori again near the harbor. Backbreaking work, even worse than his days as a porter. Kept him alive, however, paying for the humble breakfasts of porridges and salted fish. Lam spent his nights moonlighting in those days, guarding the warehouse of rich Japanese that had come to make a profit for themselves in the province. Dirty, dirty work, but it paid. When the moon was full, he'd stare in wonder at where the stars had hidden themselves within the folds of the universe. Back in Shenzhen, the night was full of wonders. One night, he heard the creak of a hinge as it swung open the back of a warehouse. He drew his gun and rounded the corner to see half a dozen burglars trying to make way with his tailoring equipment. The sight of those looms made Lam see red for a moment. He raised his Nambu on them. Back off! Back off and I might just let you live. Their arms shot up, dropping the items where they lay. The looks on their faces became seared forever in Lam's memory. Disgust, hate, a myriad of animosity for a man found working with a foreign invader. What are you waiting for? Go on, get out of here! They scurried away, scampering over the fence and through the underbrush. Lam felt a weight settle on his chest. This had to end. There had to be some other way. Where had all the stars gone hence, that men took leave of their senses? Heh. they did it funny. Imperial army coup in Manchuria. That's interesting. Not even the roar of the aircraft's engine outside the cabin could quell the monsoon raging in Matsushita's head. Sweat pouring down his brow, his belly feeling like he wanted to vomit. All he could think was that the farther he got away from the Sing, the better. He had enough of this place without the shit coming down his head. The blighted Guangdong army, the boogeyman of Manchuria, had finally ousted the Eisengors from power, with the former Guangdong army chief, Seijima Ryuzo, reforming the regional government to a republic. Perhaps it's not the most worrying thing if the leadership was somewhat more mediocre, but the Seijima was anything but. His speech and machine conference Matsushita had attended made it quite clear that his intention was far more than just some IJA junta, fully intended to streamline and remodel Manchukuo's economy and industry up to modern standards. That might as well have read like a gunshot right to the chest, Matsushita. Top of every other headache coming out of Guangdong, already the capital of backroom politic in East Asia. Now he's going to have to deal with a resurgent Manchukuo, dragging itself out of its fiscal decline, posing a legitimate threat to Guangdong's bottom line, all of which pointed, verily, to the Legislative Council, pointing the cannon right at him. Matsushita pulled a handkerchief from his lapel and wiped his brow. Marina and Abuka, we're going to have a field day with this. It was going to take some convincing on his part to downplay the Manchurian resurgence. Yet another harrowing day in the life of Matsushita Matsuhara. Due to unexpected competition, we've got access to the desperate economic decision underneath the miracle of the Pearl River GUI. Really now? Interesting. Although, I don't think we need this right now. I mean, if anything changes, we might, but right now we don't need it. Monarchy remained in Laos. I mean, honestly, this is going fine. I'm not too worried. Okay, next we'll go ahead and do... Well, we'll pass the amendments. Thanks. Draft amendments to Guangdong's archaic insolvency legislation are ready to debate in the Legislative Council. Nobody would disagree that the need for some kind of amendments to these laws and that she has been made sure to canvass the business community beforehand to secure their support. Passing legislation will be an early signal of how capable we are of bending the Legislative Council to our will. Towards the people. Increase miscellaneous income. Increase support from the minority groups. A little less approval by the expats, but that's okay. And China approves us a bit more. We even still retain a few Fujitsu seats, which is okay. Pretty good even. Look how bill and voting. Colombia is still a victim of infighting. Not a big shock there. Signal companies, I guess. I don't know. They all looked disheveled in some way, Lam noticed. The line outside the city's offices steadily expanded. It wasn't so much that they were shabbily dressed, though there were plenty of crooked ties, crumpled shirts, suits that no longer fit, but more a general attitude of defeat. Matsushita Electric might have had a decent range of clove irons on the market, but they'd yet to invent anything that took the creases out of your face. Here was the end of the line. They wouldn't tick the house anymore, but they wouldn't leave you much else. At least you still have your knees if all your debts were above board, which couldn't be true for everyone else in this town. Still, he'd never taken money from the mob back in those days, and the line was a good deal more orderly than expected. All the same, Lam and his colleagues had been stationed close by, just in case. Some part of Lam wished someone would act up, watching the line trudge forward. That way, the contemplative part of his mind could give way to mechanical procedures. As it was, all he could see was his own face on the worst day of his life. They were all getting an unexpected degree of leniency, Lam knew, as sure as he knew he was still standing years later, a more or less comfortable state of existence. As sure as he knew the stench of failure would randomly wander into their nostrils even during happy moments, never fully going away. Forever in the shadow of your aspirations. We could go ahead and do work towards financial independence. And we could do a little bit more economy stuff, though. Closer we to product cycle, we still got time. Yeah. We'll move towards financial independence. For all the benefits of our close relationship with Tokyo, the recent crisis made it quite clear that our close association with Japan, can be much a curse as it is a blessing. The struggle to procure the needed financing to make up for our budget shortfalls being the most prominent example. Now in power, Matsushita will ensure that such embarrassments will never again come to trouble Guangdong. The first step of his long road will be asserting our financial independence. This task will not be easy, but failure is not an option if we are to see Guangdong prosper. We're doing a good job in making sure we prosper, I think. We'll reinforce the police here. Just double down on that. Guangdong will be the new leader of Greater East Asian Co-Prosperity Spare True. I need to roll back a little just for a moment to remember how to pronounce that. Australia tests its first nuke. Best of luck to our Botswanan Democratic brothers. My man, Seretse Kama. Based man, that guy. Very blessed man. I hope he survives. I don't really care about any of this, so we get out of here. We're doing okay in Guangdong. We don't need to do anything too crazy. Just want a president was based as fuck, honestly. See, you know it. Oh, Jesus, fuck. They're doing it again. And strangely enough, not really fighting each other right now. Round 2, boys. Get the research divisions on the go. Between the gaps of the blinds of the boardroom, a picturesque view of Koshu stretched out to the horizon. From such a high up place, vicinity was a calming sight. A sharp, warming light of midday sun cast itself over a rooftop and caressed from the greening surface of the Pearl River. Yet an illusion of calmness from above was far removed from the reality of those on the ground. The writhing masses that squirmed beyond the light of sight of those above. A sharp tug closed the blinds, shutting off the inside. The only artificial light struggled to cast light on the most influential men in Guangdong. At the head of the table stood Matsushita, in the midst of giving a far from impassioned closing statement to his already dull introduction of the meeting. The topic of the day was Guangdong's finances, more specifically Japan's role within them. The chief executive laid the details behind his point of view, that more self-sufficiency would be required if a state were to avoid excessive collateral impact of the economic strife on the home islands. Chief executive's right, Buka shook his head. Now, he was pleased with the position Matsushita had taken. Not only would this move annoy his contacts in Tokyo, the action needed to achieve the feat would no doubt put a strain in its recovering economy. Chief executive, It's my duty to remind you of the cost of his objective. You need to raise revenue somehow, and any additional tax will be vigorously opposed by all corporations. What's more is that I do not believe you made a single mention as to what Tokyo's view would be on this. Matsushita was slow to meet Ibuka's concerns. He waited for the right words to come to him and spoke in plain voice. Frankly, Ibuka, I think you overestimate how upset Tokyo will be with the prospect of decreasing its spending. As for the measures that will be utilized, that is what we are here to discuss. Nothing will be implemented as of this moment, but when the time comes, I will know what's for the best. The chief executive knows what's best. But we won't push it quite yet. It's necessary to connect to a market's consumers. As such, we must be making our products seem palatable and conducive to the needs of as much as possible. To this end, we will embark on an advertising campaign across all corners of Guangdong. Posters will line the streets, films dominate the television screens, and so much more. Hefty investment will be required at first, though our own projections state that this should be successful. It will inevitably lead to higher spending and economic growth. We got our GDP figured out. We're going to even have a little extra on top. I'm fucking loving Guangdong, I gotta say. I've said this already, but, you know, I'm gonna keep saying it. What, regular history is too boring for readers now? Who fucking cares? When Chan Man-hing arrived with his family in Yuka, the crowds were enormous. Now transformed into an enormous hot spring resort, the huts and lean-tos of the old village have been replaced with towering new hotel complexes. The air was thick with steam and so warm that Chan could feel his pores popping. Everyone linked hands so as to not get lost, and Chan led his family to their hotel, opened only a few months ago by Sony. He only booked one room for the four of them, him, his teenage brother, and his parents, but he anticipated space to be an issue. They'd be spending most of their days lounging in the springs anyway. He left his family with the luggage in the lobby and went to find the reception. Instead, he came across an awkward scene. A cleaner had accidentally knocked a guest's coffee cup off of one of the tables in the lobby. Was apologizing profusely as the hotel manager screamed at her. One of the Juka natives, Chan recalled. The poor woman looked like she was about to crumble up under the onslaught. They all lost their homes to developers once the first tourists had started coming here. Couldn't have been easy to see their entire lives turn into servants for bathers. Before he could go too far down the line of thought, though, Chan shut it off. This was their holiday, and he was going to use the opportunity to relax. Besides, it wasn't like he could do anything for them anyway. The room had not a speck of dust on it. Our social development isn't moving too much, but that's okay. I mean, we're actually money printer. It's great. I know. Memories to start. I lived upriver in a small farm just outside of Shenzhen a few years ago. Son of a farmer, I made my living hauling fish from the sea while my family clung to the memories of old mulberry orchards for which empires fought and bled. That meantime, father sailed away to America, seeking hope and maybe also a little glory. The uncertainty of trans-Pacific relations meant that a correspondence was never stable. Some days I would come home, a box of envelopes tucked under my elbow. Some other days, nothing. Mother was always anxious for him. I wonder, how did she keep up with all this? Upriver, where no roads reached, so close to the rushing vein of the world yet so far. Outside, Japanese vans broadcast in Cantonese. In Japanese, the new propaganda state. Guangdong is for a new pan-Asian dream. Stronger together. China must do its part for co-prosperity. Spear. Hacked-eyed platitudes staunching the onrush. I remember those men in khaki uniforms. Rifles and sabers shot and stabbed so many people can parrot the dream of dead visionaries from the safety of their vehicles. I scoffed and walked on. I was no better than they were. Dressed in a tattered suit, hauling the empty briefcase. A grim destination in my mind. There's got to be another way, I thought last night. I freely checked the mail for news from father. Nothing. No briefcases full of money sent from overseas can cure this pang of restlessness that I feel. I chose this way. The winds of change had shaken me off those mulberry trees where the dreams of silk once hung. Times like these, charity did nothing for a man. I had to live. I had to keep on choosing. Outside the bus terminal, buildings the shape of and color of faded cinder blocks arrange themselves into an enclosure. A guard checkpoint, the entry and exit points. Police, a sign proclaimed. I must choose. One foot before the other, I stepped into the limbo of existence. Why does Kenpai Dai have a high support? This looks like Koshu. Chokai, they have an okay amount, actually. I don't think I want to mess with them, though. Infrastructure. Get everything up to 7. There we go. New sales network. Give space to the other corporations. That'll give us another seat. Seems a little counterintuitive. But I'm also not going to question another seat. Ultimately, the benefits associated with letting the other firms' profits outweigh the costs that Matsushita may miss out on. While our plans are temporarily set back with this decision, it's worth remembering that we're still in a strong position, keeping this opportunity away from the others in needless antagonism that will cost us votes in the Legislative Council and galvanize the leaders against us. Get back to 50 seats with the economic check, at least. Advancements in tech, Tachi bonus, Fujitsu, and Matsushita. That's what I was most interested in, Matsushita. Michael's playing Battlefield 2042. Would you look at that? Oh, he's trying to play it. It looks like it's still a glitchy mess. $2042 cringe. Not entirely uncommon. EAL. There we go. 3 extra seats in the Legislative Council. If I'm not mistaken, we'll get knocked back down to 48 seats. Maybe 47. We'll give space to extra companies. $38 out of 100 seats support it. We're getting there. We could adopt new subcontractors. I think we might do that. Yeah, I think we'll adopt new subcontractors. We still got to wait a while to get to this. I'd like to think we'll get enough seats naturally. If not, I might have to mess around a little bit, console-wise. But we'll adopt new subcontractors. Matsushita needs to run as efficiently as possible. To this end, we've begun hiring several subcontractors to help us. We find ourselves at an impasse. We must choose between our current course of hiring Japanese companies or selecting Zujin companies. Such a matter must be solved before we can collaborate with them. Economic social base would increase. But honestly, it's kind of... In theory, Matsushita is supposed to be reviewing various reports upon the state of Guangdong, the state that he in theory manages. But there's little care for that, little care for anything when the company's hemorrhaging revenue. Latest reports light a bonfire in her soul. Profits declining as Matsushita revenues are becoming less and less competitive on the market. Red ink bleeds through papers, while lines tumble down through graphs. As an avalanche does a mountain. What has he done? He argues to himself that this move was politically expedient. Be that as it may, the only thing this seems to have done is hurt his agenda further. From Koshu, he already hears the questions his father will pose to him. The benefit of hindsight, there's so much he could have done right, but now he can only focus on salvaging what Matsushita could gain from the matter. A few thoughts freezes his hand from taking a paper and pen, reminding himself that he still has much work to do as chief executive. Ramming it through, he begins to write out his memos, all addressed to Matsushita employees. Well, I guess that wasn't a good idea. But we have the extra seat, so I think now we'll be left with 49. when it's all said and done. Or 48. Because Fujitsu is going to take 2 for some reason. Haha, funny. Mario versus Maniac. Place your bets, folks. Is it 49? 48. Sony's entering the Legislative Council. It appears that... What's wrong? It's nothing. I just don't want to listen to the news anymore. It's about Osaka, isn't it? About what my father will say about Matsushita gaining a competitor. It's just... What is it that I don't have? Is it Marita's local touch and flamboyance, Abuga's drive and vision? I simply don't understand. Don't say things like that. It's not like you had to be like this, and being pessimistic certainly isn't going to help with all this news. If you're worrying about what he'll say, then you know he'd be furious to see you kicking yourself like this. The best thing to do right now is to push yourself forward and come out on top as best you can. That's how Matsushita will survive with you as president. Matsushita smiled at her. He hated to admit she was right, even the goal seemed a bit optimistic. After a moment, he gave her the reply she wanted to hear. Matsushita will do better, I promise you. Look how Armenia's just kind of chilling over here. Matsushita sat at his desk, staring at 2 piles of documents he compiled. He was well into his second glass of sake, and yet there was no closer to figuring out the answer behind his problem. Who to hire? Recently, the administrator had to deal with the Japanese contractor. Bankruptcy, thanks to the Yasuda crisis, was... Oh no, what happened here? Recently, the administration entered a deal with the Japanese contractor. Bankruptcy, thanks to the Yasuda crisis, was to blame. And the selection of a replacement fell upon Matsushita's shoulders. The answer to the issue would usually be simple, except Matsushita received info about potential choices from the Zujin community. Both the Zujin and Japanese contractors had their benefits. The Japanese were normally the best and only choice. Not only were they reliable and respectable, they were Japanese. Choosing the Japanese would not only be profitable, much administration would work with Matsushita. On the other hand, Matsushita had heard of a good reputation the Zujin firms had. The Zujin were known to be hardworking and expensive, and their status as a bridge between Japanese and Chinese in Guangdong serves as a connection to the people of the state. Choosing the Zujin would be a prevalent option in the face of stability and public support. Matsushita sighed as he went to take another sip. He suddenly looked at his glass, a wave of irritation forming within him. As much as he enjoyed it, sitting around sipping sake all day wasn't going to solve his problems. He had to choose between two groups, but who was he to pick? I think we will go ahead and go with the Japanese, satisfied as Zaibatsu. We also have options to pick. From subcontractors, from local graduates, and Japanese expats. Zujin support is already pretty high. I mean, then again, so is Japanese support. But the bonuses and quality, I think, are going to be a little bit more conductive. Armenia won? Fuck yeah, yes they did. They might have just been released. I think the progressive paths in Turkey just let Armenia go, if I'm not mistaken. Admitting Japanese students in Guangdong would surely bring many advantages that our administration would need to survive. The pace at which our technologies would develop would be increased. In addition, the arrival of these students will almost certainly show up our approval of Japanese elites Guangdong, something we desperately need to be consistent of at all times. Got a little extra. Did these provinces leave? India? I thought India owned these provinces at this... Did I just not notice the border, or did something happen? I don't know what's happening. The fuck is going on? Goshu. Yep. Still not doing too hot there. We could audit the police. And we will audit the police. Sukarno resigns. Which is going to help the main Indonesian forces more at this point. Pretty sure the Hind did a cheeky. I think they did a cheeky, you're right. Looks like the Germans won the Congo as well. Yep. Germans are doing a gamer. Also investigate corrupt businesses. And crack down on Underworld. I think I'll shore up the police support in Chokai, because I think I might need it the most here. Potentially. Yeah. And then... get working on some more infrastructure stuff over here, which I think we might do. The most important aspect of any business is connection. It allows for streamlined communications and transportation of goods and services. Therefore, it's absolutely necessary that we invest in improving Guangdong's current infrastructure. The old Durnstone paved roads of bygone era are simply no longer sufficient for the required connections of today. These investments, though it may be costly, will surely ensure that we eventually catapult our progress above our rivals and provide us with long-term profitability. I think the Hind did a cheeky. Co-prosperity W, if you ask me. Indonesia keeps suffering on, trudging on. If we actually stayed with our volunteers, it might have been a little bit better, but why the fuck would we do that? We made our money. We profited and proceeded to lead. 2 years in the forest, night patrols through neon-lit streets of the city breathes in smokestacks, jutting up from the factories beyond the city limits. Lam disdained his uniform. The bad insignia marked him as a stranger in his own homeland. Still, it was better than begging for food in the slums of Kowloon. While he was patrolling the night market alleys, a stack of boxes burst out with a real profile of a man with a knapsack full of goods on his back. Shouting rang forth from behind the man, "Stop him! He's got my things!" Lamb sprang into action. The security job he worked in 2 years prior was beginning to pay off. He felt his legs fold, his body bolt forward, as an instinctive cry rose to his throat. "Stop right there! Stop in the name of the law!" The man saw him and turned to run in the walled city's maze of apartments, living spaces, stores, and open-air stalls. Lamb gave a chase, hurling through counters laden with street foods, elbowing past the crowds, shimmying through streets formed when crowds intermingled and separated. The thief was quick, but Lamb was steadier, better built. When the man looked back to see Lamb gaining on him, and between gasps of exultation, before returning his gaze just in time to slam against a porter carrying boxes of heavy merchandise. It collapsed. In the meanwhile, Lamb pulled the handcuffs from his belt and locked the man's wrist in them. "You're under arrest. You have the right to remain silent." Would they have the right to remain silent in Guangdong? I don't know. Lamb brought the man and his knapsack back to the alleyway. The owner gave him an unconscious thanks, all in fluent Japanese. He insisted on knowing Lamb's name, Patrolman Haishi. He reluctantly gave away his Japanese name. "You're welcome. Now, I have to get back to the precinct. Gotta bring this guy in for questioning." Waving the owner off, he hauled the criminal back to the station, handcuffs, complaints, and all. He was thankful. This night was easier than some others. Mississippi River and everyone's tributes are named after states that the rivers are named after. States most river isn't even in. Oh, yeah. Democratic National Republic is just kind of doing stuff, it seems. Generally speaking, getting more Chinese support. A little extra approval on both ends. I see that. Another product cycle. I guess doing all that early doesn't have any benefit. Or does it? I don't know. We'll push the product relief closer. I think we have between the Turks. No, we have the Argentines and the Chileans. I mean, the Italians, not the Turks. I think we'll go with the Argentines. And then bam, bam. There's a little bit of Zugine support. And we can afford corruption. Bam. Bam. Just let go from there. Establish greater connectivity. Fuck me, I'm getting delusionally tired. It's okay. We're probably going to be ending it soon, stream-wise, so don't you... Don't worry. Be happy. I hate myself for that joke, too. Don't worry. And we'll open up our natural riches. Guangdong is laying potential opportunity. Nowhere is that more clear than directly beneath the surface. Endless deposits of tungsten, iron, and coal are stretched all across the nation. Untapped riches are simply waiting for adequate exploitation. It is to no doubt that the corporation of Guangdong must be approved to utilize these natural riches accordingly. And soon. Ooh. Hold on now. The business halls and stock brokerages of Guangdong have exploded in activity following the announcement of trade renormalization between the Empire of Japan and the German Reich. Our relations between the former allies remain shaky. The prospect of a thaw in a previously incandescent Cold War is too precious of an opportunity to ignore. Already, the corporations of Guangdong are preparing their campaigns to conquer Europe. With a population of more than 100 million, metropolitan Germany itself represents a vast and untapped market for consumer electronics. That number does not include the other members of the Einheitspacht. While German electrical engineers pioneered in many aspects of computer science, and Siemens remains at the forefront of electronics research, the German electronics sector revolves around the needs of the military-industrial complex and heavy industry, leaving ordinary citizens behind. This deficiency has been especially apparent following the economic boom caused by Minister Erhard's market liberalizations, which has raised the fortunes of Germany's middle class but left domestic manufacturers unable to meet its newly raised demand for consumer electronics. Corporations of Guangdong are nimble enough they might be able to corner the German market, consumer electronic markets for the foreseeable future. Of course, some expressed concern of Erhard's reforms may eventually create German competitors. Ensuring the rights market will only make that possibility more likely, but the vast profits that could be made in the near term outweigh such fears. I mean, look at the profitability. I'll salute that shit. Are you kidding me? Oh, look at that profitability. 15%. 15%. Perhaps some TV channels, because we'll not have to worry about the corruption soon. Let's press some negative press, too. I'm a happy boy right now. Oh, and look at that. We're getting close. We're, what, 2 billion away? Not even that, almost 1.5 billion away. Wait. I just updated. We're... Let's see. Guangdong, I gotta do math real quick. Yeah, 1.5. About 1.5. We're getting there, boys. What the fuck even is that? Is that a vacuum cleaner? Test the product vigorously. I don't know. What I do know is, our time is running out. Both on the stream and for this video. Right now, I'll worry about the video. Thanks as always for watching, friends. If you liked this video, do leave a like. If not, feel free to dislike. It's a free country. Unless you don't live in a free country. But yeah. I appreciate any y'all feedback you might have for me, so go and leave a comment section below if you have any. If you have, if you want to keep up to date with these uploads, I have a sub button. Can you hit the notification bell if you really want to keep up to date with uploads? What else? I have a bunch of links down in the description box below. You can check those out if you're so inclined. And yeah, that's it for now, my friends. I thank you for watching. My name has been Mr. Doggo333, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.